From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang in review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday called on Filipinos to reflect on the enduring legacy of Dr. Jose Rizal, urging the nation to embrace his ideals and continue his work toward a just and progressive society as the country commemorates the 128th anniversary of his martyrdom. President Marcos, in his Rizal Day message, said, "The national hero's vision of a just and forward-thinking society is no less alive today than it was more than a century ago." The President urged Filipinos to not only remember Rizal's sacrifices, but also to take to heart the ideals that fueled the revolution for independence. The chief executive emphasized that the values of patriotism, truth, and dedication to the welfare of the people that Rizal espoused remain crucial to the country's progress. President Marcos Jr. encouraged Filipinos to embody these values in their daily lives, whether in service to their communities, in the pursuit of knowledge, or in working toward the upliftment of the marginalized. The Philippine President, along with the First Family, led a wreath-laying ceremony at the Rizal National Monument in Manila on Monday morning. In addition to the main ceremony in Manila, similar flag-raising and wreath-laying rites were conducted in key locations across the Philippines, with local government units and organizations hosting their own activities. The National Historical Commission of the Philippines and other government agencies also lined up activities such as educational exhibits, cultural shows, and community programs to celebrate Rizal's life and teachings.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. signed into law the 2025 national budget and vetoed over 194 billion pesos in line items he deemed inconsistent with his administration's priorities. In his speech, the President emphasized that the General Appropriations Act, or GAA 2025, was designed to sustain economic growth and improve the lives of future generations and should be carefully curated and scrutinized. While the final version of the budget reflects many of the administration's priorities, the chief executive said certain provisions required careful scrutiny to ensure that every centavo is spent on programs that truly benefit the Filipino people. President Marcos acknowledged that some had called for a veto of the entire budget and a return to a reenacted budget. However, he emphasized that this would have set back vital programs and delayed the country's economic goals, including achieving single-digit poverty levels and attaining upper middle income status. These cuts include certain projects under the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, and an increase in unprogrammed appropriations by 300%. The President also explained that the Ayuda sa Kapos ng Kita program, or AKAP, should be subjected to a convergence process involving the Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, and National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA. President Marcos Jr. said this will ensure that its implementation will be strategic, leading to the long-term improvement of the lives of qualified beneficiaries while guarding against misuse and duplication and fragmented benefits. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
As we embrace the holiday season, with the joy of Christmas filling our hearts and the new year inspiring hope and new possibilities, we are reminded that it is also a time for reflection and for resolve. Just as families use this time to plan for the year ahead, so too must government dedicate ourselves to fortifying the foundation that we have laid down for a better future for the country. On this day that we honor our national hero, we enact the 2025 General Appropriations Act. And through this measure, the dreams of our heroes are realized by a nation birthed by their sacrifices. This budget reflects our collective commitment to transforming economic gains into meaningful outcomes for every Filipino. It is designed not just to address our present need, but to sustain growth and to uplift the lives of generations that are yet to come. In the first 2 years of this administration, we focused on creating the foundation for an inclusive, sustainable, and resilient Philippines. From targeted reforms to strategic investments, we ensure that our progress is felt in the daily lives of every Filipino. Today, we build on that momentum, guided by the same precision, purpose, and unwavering determination. In my State of the Nation address last July, I called for the full cooperation of Congress to approve the budget in their usual timely manner and to adhere to the administration's proposed budget as closely as possible. With the passing of the fiscal year 2025 General Appropriations Act, the responsibility of ensuring that every centavo is spent wisely, transparently, and purposefully begins. Cognizant that our resources are finite, and our people's needs are plenty, we need to carefully curate the particulars of the budget. So much so that even grand ambitions and great plans must be tempered. We must exercise maximum prudence, otherwise we run the risk of increasing our deficit and debt and derailing our development agenda for our country. While the final version of the budget reflects many of our shared priorities, some provisions required careful scrutiny. The Filipino people have spoken. Every centavo must go to programs that truly uplift lives, strengthen communities, secure the future development of the Philippines. There were calls to veto the entire budget and to revert to a reenacted one. However, this is not an option that we can afford. A reenacted budget will set us back, delay our vital programs, jeopardize targets for economic growth, including our goals of achieving single-digit poverty levels and upper middle income status. However, the executive branch is one with the people in raising concerns over appropriations that are not consistent with the country's development plan and responsive to the needs of the people. After all, it is our people whom we serve. We take our role as stewards of our taxpayers' money seriously. And for this reason, after an exhaustive and thorough review, we have directly vetoed over 194 billion worth of the line items that are not consistent with our program priorities. These include allocations for certain programs and projects of the Department of Public Works and Highways, and those under the unprogrammed appropriations, which increased by 300%. We shall also pursue conditional implementation on certain items to ensure that the people's funds are utilized in accordance with their authorized and stated purpose. Specifically, to ensure that government assistance is not merely a provisional solution to a persistent issue, we are compelled to subject the implementation of the Ayuda sa Kapos ng Kita program, or AKAP, to the convergence efforts of the DSWD, DOLE, and NEDA. This way, We ensure that its implementation will be strategic, leading to the long-term improvement of the lives of qualified beneficiaries while guarding against misuse and duplication and fragmented benefits. This approach is anchored on a simple yet profound truth. The appropriation of public funds must not break the public trust. In the exercise of our budget execution function and our duty to ensure prudent fiscal management, we ensure that all increases in appropriations and new budgetary items shall now be subject to cash programming, applicable budget execution rules, and vetting and approval of the concerned offices. This way, we guarantee that these programs and projects are implementable and will redound to the benefit of our people. Sa sambayan ng Pilipino, nakikinig po kami sa inyo. Salamat po sa inyong pagkilatis sa ating national budget at sa pagpuna sa kaibahan ng isinumite ng Kongreso sa President's proposed budget. Kaya naman po, kahit Pasko, kaming lahat ay nagtrabaho upang pag-aralan ito. Ito po ang ipapasang General Appropriation Act ngayon. Kasama na ang mga veto ay resulta ng aming pagdinig sa inyong tugon. Nakakaasa naman po kayo sa budget na ito. Ipapagpatuloy at papalawigin pa natin ang ating serbisyo sa inyo, alinsunod sa ating Philippine Development Plan ng 2023 to 2028. Titiyakin namin na mananatiling prioridad ang social services. Kasama na rin dyan ang edukasyon ayon sa mandato ng ating saligang batas. Pati na rin ang kalusugan. Sisikapin din po natin na ipagpatuloy at ipapagpapatupad ang ating economic services kasama ang infrastruktura at agrikultura upang mapalakas pa ang ating ekonomiya at malabanan ang kahirapan na dulot ng pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin at kalamidad. Titiyakin namin na maipapatupad ang mga plano upang maipababa ang presyo ng pagkain, lalong-lalo na ang bigas. Itutuloy namin ang mga hakbangin upang mapunan ang kakulangan sa mga gusaling pampaaralan at ang mga computer ng mga eskwelahan. Sisiguruhin natin na tuloy-tuloy at mas lalawig pa ang mga benepisyo ng lahat ng Pilipino sa ilalim ng PhilHealth. Through this budget, we will also prioritize green investments and disaster preparedness to safeguard our environment and ensure resilience against disasters. We shall drive innovation and enhance trade and investments to create more quality jobs and to improve productivity. To sustain these efforts, we are advancing governance reforms. We shall continue to improve our systems for a more efficient, transparent, and accountable government. Through digitalization, we shall streamline services, reduce bureaucratic delays, and combat corruption. Sa aking mga kasamahan sa pamahalaan, nais kong ipaalala ang ating tungkulin sa bayan. Gamitin natin ng wasto ang pondo ng ating bayan. Siguruhin natin na agarang masimula ng mga proyektong napopondohan at matapos ito ng naaayon sa programa at pondong inilaan dito. So as we close this year and step into a new chapter, let us remind ourselves of our shared responsibility. Nation building is not the work of government alone. It is a partnership that we make with every single Filipino. With unity, with determination and a clear vision, we can achieve a future where progress is felt in every home, in every community, every corner of this archipelago. Together, let us build a bagong Pilipinas, a nation of genuine and shared prosperity.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday remembered the late former United States President Jimmy Carter for his unwavering dedication to humanitarian causes and deep commitment to peace, justice, and human rights. Carter died Sunday. He was 100. President Marcos said Carter was a leader who practiced what he preached. In a statement posted in his social media accounts, the Philippine president said Jimmy Carter was a humanitarian who practiced what he preached: houses for the homeless and human rights for the oppressed. The chief executive emphasized the universal nature of the values that the former president championed. Carter, who served as the 39th U.S. President from 1977 to 1981, was renowned for his work on global human rights, efforts to combat poverty, and advocacy for peace. He received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002 for his humanitarian work. In 1999, he visited the Philippines to build affordable homes as part of the Habitat for Humanity campaign. President Marcos highlighted how Carter's impact transcended politics, describing him as a model of the power to do good with the benefit of public office or bereft of it, driven not by politics nor personal gain, but by pure love to one's fellow men.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday extended his heartfelt New Year's greetings to Filipinos across the country and abroad, urging them to draw inspiration from acts of courage, compassion, and bayanihan, or the spirit of community and cooperation, as the nation embarks on the journey into 2025. In his New Year's message, the president acknowledged the challenges the country faced in the previous months, particularly in the wake of calamities that disrupted communities and upended lives. Despite these adversities, President Marcos emphasized Filipinos' resilience, underscoring the importance of solidarity and perseverance in the face of hardships. The chief executive highlighted that the new year is a time for personal reflection and growth, a chance to strike a balance between learning from the past and embracing the possibilities of tomorrow.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang on Wednesday said Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Manuel Romualdez, will attend U.S. President Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th on behalf of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. In a statement, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Secretary Cesar Chavez said, the U.S. invited the chief of diplomatic missions to represent their respective countries at Trump's inauguration. Chavez said the palace confirms that the Secretary of State, on behalf of the Joint Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies, invited the chiefs of diplomatic missions along with their spouses to represent their respective heads of state and their governments at the principal inaugural events. Trump, who served as U.S. President from 2017 to 2021, earned a fresh mandate from the Americans in the 2024 elections after defeating outgoing U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris. Chavez also said there was no confirmation yet whether President Marcos would visit the U.S. to meet with Trump in the early months of 2025. In a phone call in November, the Philippine president congratulated Trump for his second term as U.S. president. They also discussed the long-standing alliance between the U.S. and the Philippines. The U.S. has been the Philippines' oldest and strongest military ally.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday held a meeting with Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin to discuss the agenda for the first cabinet meeting in 2025. In a text message to Palace reporters, Presidential Communications Office or PCO Acting Secretary Cesar Chavez said the cabinet meeting was scheduled on January 7th. Chavez said the president will also be having private meetings. The chief executive welcomed the first day of 2025 with his family at Bahay Pangulo, his official residence at the Malacañang grounds. In his New Year's message, President Marcos expressed optimism that the country's experiences in the past year will serve as a guide as he looks forward to building a future filled with promise and purpose.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Department of Migrant Workers or DMW Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak on Thursday assured that the Philippine government will seek justice for the slain overseas Filipino worker or OFW in Kuwait. Kakdak said they are now closely monitoring the case with the prime suspect in custody of Kuwaiti authorities. In a media interview, the DMW secretary said the victim has been working in Kuwait for the last 5 years, having worked already for 2 employers. He added that after losing contact with the OFW, the family thought that the victim was just busy. Kakdak said the DMW did not have any registered or documented reports from her family. It was not until December 28th that Kuwaiti authorities reported the discovery of the OFW's body. Kakdak confirmed that the prime suspect has a previous criminal record in Kuwait. He, however, said details about the exact circumstances and motive for the crime remains unclear. Secretary Kakdak assured the victim's family that the OFW's remains will be repatriated after the necessary investigative procedures are completed. At present, he said, the Philippine government would provide financial assistance for the victim's burial and other related expenses. Additional aid is also being coordinated through the Philippine Embassy and the Migrant Workers Office in Kuwait. Kakdak said the incident has sparked concerns about the safety of Filipino workers in Kuwait, particularly regarding employment transfers. He said the Philippine government has already implemented stricter measures for deploying OFWs to Kuwait, including monitoring recruitment practices and requiring previous experience before deployment. With the recent incident, he said, the Philippine government would review policies to prevent such incidents from happening again. In another interview, Kabayan Party List Representative Ron Salo raised concerns about illegal employment transfers by OFWs. Kakdak, meanwhile, assured that the government is improving its guidelines for such transfers and enhancing accessibility for Filipino workers to report changes in employment, while discussions about further tightening of regulations are ongoing.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 9.475 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, This is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.